Hi everyone, welcome back to Drinks at Dana's. This week we are a woman down, Chris is down, and so it is just Jess and I, Jess from the L Word Online, and we're going to be discussing episode 307 of the L Word Generation Q, Little Boxes. Jess, how did you feel about the episode overall?
I enjoyed it because I feel like we're finally getting stories.
Yeah.
Like more than just who's cheating on who and who wants who and who, you know, like there was a little bit more than just the like super bare bones, like repetitive relationship stuff that a lot of the other episodes have been like entirely built around. And I feel like we got hints of like continuing stories or like, you know, changes in the story to come for next week also.
Yeah, I either really, really liked something in this episode or I really, really disliked it a lot. So I was there was no middle ground this week. And there was, because everybody was kind of in a little bit of a different situation too. Like, I feel like having Rosie on the show and then having Jack Tobani with Rosie, it was like a chance for Jack to go a little bit deeper, I think, because she's normally around the same sort of 2 or 3 people all the time. And that was one of my favorite bits, was the Rosie or the Carrie and Finley stuff.
But I always liked the two of them. So I mean, I like them together, or I don't know, more like what we've been kind of wanting and asking for. We finally got a little bit of that delivered.
Yeah, I actually said in my video this week, I really think this was one of the episodes, bar, of course, like the Bette and Tina stuff, because I'm always squawking about that. But this week, I really feel as though some stuff that I said over the hiatus, like actually happened here. Like, I know you and I have both for a really long time talked about Finley's background stuff that we wanted to see, and there was some other stuff that I really thought, are they doing it? Are they?
It felt more like season 1. Like, it felt like as if we'd just been introduced to these characters, and this was kind of like how we expected them to behave, how we expected the show to go.
Yeah.
Kind of felt like getting back to that a little bit, especially having the 3 of the Gen Q all together, the friend group. Yeah. I mean, I don't know the last time we saw that. Sophie and Dani and Micah like all together and joking and stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not crazy about those 3 characters, but I did like the Sophie falling in the pool bit and like Dani going over to get her and stuff. Like, I did find that bit funny, but I guess we should start at the beginning and then work our way through.
Yeah, and I didn't take notes or anything. I was honestly like trying to set this travel equipment up while I was watching it.
Jess is coming to us on the road.
So I don't really remember like the order anything came or whatever. So
yeah, I normally, especially when it's quite like choppy and changey, I try to talk about it in terms of, you know, Rosie and I keep saying Rosie, Carrie and Finley and all of that stuff together, because otherwise I feel like you're constantly just like hopping back. And I am a big proponent of like everybody who's listening to this podcast, I would say most people have watched the episode, and if they haven't, they don't want a blow by blow. They want to hear about how good or how bad it was.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, because we're performing a service, I think, right now for people who are only going to watch 9 and 10 and have to stay up to date. So maybe we should start with Carrie and Finley, since they were like kind of the top of the episode anyway. And we picked up basically like right after Sophie had split up with Finley from last week, and Finley tries to contact Shane. Shane says, sorry, I'm on vacation this week. I'm not in the episode.
Right. Yeah, and in one fell swoop, she loses both Shane and Tess, because Shane is quick to tell her, oh, by the way, Tess is with me and she can't talk either. So
yeah. So
Good luck.
Finley goes.
Good luck, very recently sober alcoholic.
That's having a crisis.
Thanks for reaching out. Call someone else.
So yeah, Finley turns up at Carrie's house, and it was even the same house that we saw last season when Carrie was drunk. So
man, I just realized how small her circle is. I'm like, gosh, at least she had someone else to call. When your friend group is all your ex group.
Yeah, problems.
Yeah. But yeah, so Carrie steps in like the kind person she is.
It looks like, but Finley's kind of like staying there and stuff. So that's, I mean, Carrie is a lawyer, so she's doing good for herself. Nice house in LA.
And it seems like she really understands Finley more than a lot of other people.
Yeah, I think so.
And has the patience for her, because we see even when Carrie gets upset with her, it's like Finley expects her to cut her off and push her away, like, oh, I'm not welcome anymore.
Yeah.
And she's like shocked when Carrie still wants her around despite the fact that she's kind of screwed up again.
Yeah. So they're gonna go to their bowling night, which is very lesbian representation here.
Yeah. It's also a little weird. I'm like, you have like team shirts, but if you actually had a team, you would have a consistent like core set of people you play with. But it's whoever shows up, you're on the team. I don't know. Carrie kind of says that she's like terrible at bowling, and she's just there to hang out with, what's her name?
Misty. Yeah, I did like some of the other the Britney Spears. I've seen. I think that was on Parks and Rec or something. But I like little things like that. Yeah, Misty seems to be a great bowler, and yeah, Carrie's just there for the company, I think. And I've seen a lot of people say this, that the actor who plays Misty looks like a Butch Tina.
She does,
which is funny. Actor who plays Misty is I believe that she's friends with Marsha, but she seems like super nice, fun person. So it does. I like the character. Like, they seem not super complicated, not what we're used to with like drama. Like, it just seems like a nice, normal.
These are the type of characters we never got on the original series.
Yeah.
That people used to complain about, like, oh, there's no like normal, down to earth, middle America kind of, just like people with normal jobs and like not super glamorous. And
my other friend Jess, she always says that the L word is like this fantasy world where everyone's a lesbian and everyone is an 11. So it's like, yeah, that is pretty accurate, because literally everyone they come into contact with is like some gorgeous lesbian. So, and then I mean, throughout the episode, we kind of go through this. Something might happen with Carrie and Misty. Misty shoots it down, and then Finley's and oversteps, tries to set them up. But we see, her and Carrie argue, like we've talked about, and then in the end, like, Misty, even though Carrie's not her type, Misty shows up at her door, and
that part was a little confusing to me, because she seemed honest earlier when she was like not her type. And so like at the end, is she like, oh, you're not my type like physically, but we're good friends and we get along, so I'm gonna like take a chance and go for it anyway? Or because when she came to the door, it was sort of like almost as if she just said that to save face or something. Like she was uncomfortable and she didn't really mean that. And the opposite is true, that like, oh, she's really liked Carrie this whole time, but couldn't act on it or something.
Yeah, I did think that too, because I don't know, I'm one of those people that, like, I mean, you could line up all my ex-girlfriends and they all like look exactly the same, and like even personality, they're all insane. Shout out to all my ex-girlfriends. But do you know what I mean? Like, I've had those people before that I always think like, oh, you would be perfect for me because you're not crazy, but that you it's one of those things that you can't just like flip a switch and just be like, And it's not like a physical or like it's that whole thing. And yeah, I mean, maybe she was just saying it to save face.
I don't know, because like at the very end of that scene, they share a kiss. Like Misty
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say,
initiates a kiss, and they're both like, "Oh, yep, that'll work for me." Like, okay, yeah,
I
there
did
is
like
chemistry.
that.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure what to think about it, but I'm just happy that at least it's working out so far.
Yeah. I'm not 100% on this, but when I was on set, one of the first things I asked was is how many episodes Rosie's in, how many episodes Vanessa Estelle Williams is in, blah blah blah, other people, and trying to, because at this stage there was still, you know, we were trying to figure out what was going on. People on set told me Carrie was in 2 episodes, but they did say, I can't remember off the top of my head if that's true, and like they couldn't remember, so I've always assumed she was in 2. But in the trailer for Thanksgiving, there's, you know, like we see the turkey and stuff, and you can see the type of wine glasses, and there is like a 1-second shot in the coming up on this season trailer where they're in the sitting in the same positions and the same wine glasses, so it's from this episode. But it looks like, and I mean, it's literally a tiny square of like an outline of someone, and it looked like it was Carrie cheersing with like Dani, Sophie, Finley, all of them, but it could just be someone else that we haven't met yet, because we know there's lots of, you know, even like Finley's mom's coming to this thing. So I'm not 100%, but if this is the last we see of them, then I mean, like, that's a good place to leave it in. And I'm sure that if there's a season 4, the Rosie and Misty would, or Carrie and Misty would come back, because I've been talking about this probably for about 2 weeks now, but previously sources were telling me there probably wouldn't be a season 4, and if there was, they would be moving to Vancouver. But as of the past 2 weeks, people from set, people from Showtime have been telling me that they think that they're going to get another season. Nothing's for sure, obviously, but that is the word on the L Word street at the moment. Maybe it's not the last we've seen of them.
I mean, to be honest, I enjoyed it, and I kind of like take stock at the end of an episode and be like, did I miss Bet? Not really. Like, I didn't really think about her while the episode was going.
I did.
So, I mean, there were still things I didn't like, but I don't feel like, oh, they have to be filled with Bet or else the show doesn't work at all. I didn't feel that.
I mean, like, I always obviously miss Bettina and Gigi. Like, they're my 3 favorites. But it was more Gigi this episode that I was like, I think that whenever I see Dani with someone else, I just feel like it's not as good as Dani and Gigi. So that's when I start thinking about it. But
it was a very Dani heavy episode, wasn't it?
Yeah. I feel like, yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of Dani and Sophie content in this episode. I don't know why, but something about it just worked for me a little bit better than it has in the past with all of them.
Yeah, I was more with them, and like the whole Fletcher thing. I felt like kind of in the middle about Dani and Sophie, but that's how I kind of feel about them anyway, because they don't like blow me away, and I don't think their characters are super interesting or anything like that. I absolutely despised the Angie and Professor and the Micah and Maribel stuff. I feel like they gave Micah and Maribel, or especially Micah, like some awful lines. Like I like that I like all the actors on the show. Like I never will say a bad thing about any of the actors. And that bit where he's saying like Micah, like
it was cheesy.
It was awful. I hated that bit. I hated it. Yeah, it just was weird. Like that whole the guy and then the wife, but I did think the falling in the pool thing was funny.
Yeah, but in the end, it's like you spend the entire episode weaving this storyline of Micah and Maribel meeting this Michael guy and like, oh, he could be our sperm donor. And in the end, all you're using it for is a joke. It's a comedic bit so that Sophie can fall in the pool. Like literally that's the only reason those 2 characters were there. It wasn't to like further Micah and Maribel's storyline at all. Yeah. It was really like Sophie and Dani and how messed up Sophie was in this episode.
Yeah, there's a bit, right, I think it's her last line of the episode. Maribel says something like, I can't watch this. I'm going to be using that. I used it in my review.
That's
but
the
there,
gift.
yeah, there's just me doing that. The one other line that I loved that I'm going to use is Dani when she's like, nothing to see here. Why are we all looking? I thought that was really funny, and it was good delivery and stuff, because I feel like Jack Tobani is probably like my favorite actress out of the newbies, and
For sure.
I think that the Carrie stuff was stronger this episode, and it's hard too, I think, to act intoxicated if you are in those situations too. So
yeah, actually, I did feel for Micah a little bit though, because he's like, oh, I met this guy and he's perfect, and Maribel's like, oh, is he like, brilliant, like a genius, or that, like this or that, successful? And he's like, no, he's like me. And she's like, oh, that's nice. Like super, like, oh, tell us how you really feel. It's like patting him on the head, like, oh, like you, great. Like, geez, do you want to have a kid with him or not?
I don't get their story or relationship or anything, because I feel like they give them nothing. Like, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you either need to give them something to, like, some storyline, something that we can grasp at, or you just need to not like be going in this there can't be this like weird wishy-washy middle ground, because all you're doing is just creating kind of annoyance with people, because you're not creating any like Micah and Maribel stands, because you don't give them enough to do or enough storyline. And then when they are on screen, because it's like little bits and dribs and drabs, and like the whole storyline of this episode was basically culminating in a joke, then people get frustrated with that, because they see it as, oh, they're like taking time from the other stories for stuff that ultimately goes nowhere.
Yeah, it was one of the few episodes where Maribel wasn't being like super horrible to someone.
Yeah.
But I did think it was a little odd, like how you pointed out at the end, where she was like, oh, I can't watch this. But the rest of the time when they were observing Sophie, she was like proud of her. I'm like, you criticize her all the time when she's acting normally. And now when she's acting out and being wild and stuff and like getting sloppy, you're like, oh, that's my sister, look how great she is. I'm like, really?
Is Maribel must be the older sibling, you think?
I think so, but I almost
She's
feel
a
like
lawyer.
I stated it two different ways, but it felt like she was the older sister though.
Yeah, I feel, because maybe I'm thinking of remember there was a scene in season 1 where they were like going down the pavement, and I think that was maybe like one of the first times that we saw Maribel. But she's like she was an immigration attorney like when we met her, so Sophie's in like, late 20s, I think. So I feel like she has to be the oldest sibling.
Yeah, I think so.
I guess just like sibling relationships are different and stuff, like.
Yeah, but yeah, so Sophie's little arc, I guess, in this episode started out kind of normal. Like, she just did her breakup with Finley and her ayahuasca trip of like, I'm gonna be the real me. And so she starts by saying that she's gonna like, get her hair done and stuff, and it's like,
She looked killer. She looked great.
Yeah, and that's like, those are little things that like people do after a breakup, like, oh, get a haircut or get a new style or do that, do something new for themselves. Get your nipples pierced, apparently. But it was kind of like, it started to tip a little bit from like positive self-improvement to like, I'm gonna run wild with like without thinking of any consequences.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna get drunk because drunk is fun. Like, I'm gonna kiss people. I'm gonna do that. Or maybe she didn't start getting drunk until after she was rejected. No, I think she was drinking when she kissed Jay.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah, I think so, because
Yeah, she mentioned something about that.
Yeah, it did give me when Danny's like putting her in the car. As someone who does not drink, because the other thing is that like my memory is always crystal clear in HD, and the amount of people that like if actually even when I was younger and I was always the person that was like not, because I could always hold my alcohol really well, and so it was always me putting people in cars, finding people, finding lost items and everything, and this gave me so many so many flashbacks, and I thought they did that scene well. And we did the also we saw the famous photo booth in this episode. For anyone who doesn't know, Kelsey told this story actually when she came on my channel for a live, so you could go watch it. Kelsey, who used to work for Showtime, she revealed like lots of little cool little tidbits. The photo booth that Sophie uses in this, they've actually had that on set all season, and that is where a lot of actually the only promotional pictures we got this season came from. It's just the cast, like, and lots of the crew took pictures as well across the season. So yeah, famous little photo booth. Made it all the way into the episode. What did you think about Fletcher? Are you like a big fan, or?
No, I had to Google who she was when I heard she was in the show.
This podcast coming to you from two women over the age of 35. I've just got in there over the 35 now, sadly.
The olds. As a woman of a certain age, I do not know who the kids are listening to these days. So
listen, I knew who she was because of the L word. Because she's when I knew who she was, she is like really, really big and really popular. And I really, the music I've heard, I haven't heard everything. I really like, and she seems like a cool person too. But the first season, when Tina is on the doorstep at the end of the episode and leaving, there was that song. It's only like 30 seconds, and that was the day I started my channel, and the amount of everybody, who is this, what song is this, and I loved it. I thought it was great. Couldn't find it anywhere. Eventually someone told me the name, but it hadn't been released yet. So what I did was I just cut the bit from the episode, and it was only 30 seconds. I don't even think it was 30 seconds. And at the start, I'd cut it where Bette and Tina are like, "I miss you," or "I love you," or something like that. And I would listen to it like on my iPod or my iPhone. And it just, I really love that song. It's really, really great. And I listen to it all the time now. It makes me think of Bette and Tina. But that's how I first found out about Fletcher. And then I think it was Fletcher that kind of got Kehlani in, because Fletcher had said something on social media, I think, because she's really like great at social media marketing and stuff like that. Really good. And I think she said something about she's going to be on the out or something somehow. And then that's when Kehlani was like saying, "Oh, can I come?"
yeah, and usually I think it's really awkward when like actual famous people are guests on a show. But I thought she did really well. I mean, I actually would have preferred to see more of her than Kehlani. She like the character was engaging, and just she playing herself, I guess. I personally, I didn't feel like it was awkward or like.
Yeah, no, she fit right in. I wouldn't mind seeing more. And it gave me a little bit like OG L Word, where it's like, the music person is there playing themselves.
Yeah. Well, and then she had the whole thing with Dre of like, "Oh, you should come on tour and stuff." And it's like, ooh, I like the chemistry between those two. Let's forget about Dre and Dani or Dre and Sophie. What about Dre and Fletcher? I'm like, is she the new Gigi? Is she going to date everyone?
Oh, God. Yeah, well, I guess we should talk about Dre and Dani, really, I think.
I mean, I like Dre and Dani. I thought it was interesting, like when Sophie kisses Dre and Dre's like, "Oh, like, no, no." Like, we did that. I'm past that. Like, I've moved on. I mean, I assumed she was thinking of Dani. Like, as that's who she would rather be with.
Yeah, I wasn't 100%, but then afterwards I was like, oh, okay, it must be Dani.
I'm kind of glad that Dani and Sophie got over the little, oh, neither of us can be with her because it would be weird. And Dani and Sophie's interaction there seemed like the most friendly that I can recall. And it no longer felt awkward to me, where before it was like, oh, you're pushing your ex to like go sleep with someone else. It feels weird. And maybe it was because they had all hung out as friends earlier in the episode. It didn't feel as awkward to me this time. And I was like, okay, yeah, Dani and Dre, let's go with that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Dani and Dre. I don't feel anything.
At the end. After they do the sexy pool time and they're both like,
pool time.
Oh, hey, like, we don't want an actual relationship. Let's do something like messy and ill-advised, and then I was kind of like, oh, I don't know. I'm not so sure. I wasn't so sure about that. When they're negotiating, like, oh, what kind of relationship? Like, how about a not serious one? Like, okay.
I'm not like a big fan of Dre, I guess. I just don't know. They're all like gaga for them. And like, and I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I feel like that's a person that will just leave everyone hanging. Or, I mean, it sounds like, hey, she might be going on tour, so... they, sorry, I keep saying she, might be going on tour, so, don't really have time for a serious relationship if your career is going to start taking off.
Yeah, maybe that's a little out they've created for themselves.
Speaking of having an out for themselves, probably the worst part of the episode, this is what I heard everyone talking about online, was everyone's pissed at Angie and Teacher.
Oh yeah, everybody hates this storyline. I hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know what, like, literally, if you probably wrote down, what is the worst storyline that lesbians would like? Because having the character of like your two, like the biggest lesbian couple history-wise there is, that people have literally watched for 20 years, having that kid who previously Bette thought that bloody Geordie was going to be trouble.
Yeah.
Stage left, Professor Creeper. I don't like this whole thing at all. I think it's creepy, and it's even weirder because they're like acting like, oh, this is just like, there's no university in the world where, well, maybe in the world, but there's no university that would be okay with a student. It just doesn't happen. Even students who are like the same age, it's that power dynamic thing. And I'm not saying it doesn't go on, because I've told you I dated my professor and my best friend was dating their professor at the same time. But she's 18 as well, which is even creepier. It's not like she's even 21.
The biggest problem I have with it is I don't feel like they're showing that it's creepy. Like,
yeah.
It's like they're trying to portray that it's, totally normal and just another relationship, but all the viewers are being like, ooh, creepy. But it feels weirder because it's not like I'm watching, a like after school special, like Lifetime movie where like they make it super obvious, like, this guy's a creep and this girl's in over her head. So it feels like weirder. Like, am I the crazy one for being uncomfortable with this?
Yeah, and I keep thinking that too, because I'm like, well, now they're surely good. Because when they keep having I'm like, oh, well, he's going to say, like, that I shouldn't be doing this, or that I'm going to get in trouble, or I'm going to get fired. They never say shit. Like, they even the bit where the guy says, the professor says, oh, I just panicked. It was like, oh, I panicked because I was nervous and I wasn't thinking. It wasn't, I said that lie about you just being my student because I would get in trouble or I would get fired, or it is bad that I'm doing this. I don't know. I even like her roommate as well. I think that speaking to people who are that age now, my brother's 21, but also like I have L-word friends that are in their, I sound like an old woman saying this, are in like their early 20s. The younger people now are a lot more clued up on all this shit than like would have. I feel as though in my 20s, like as I said, like I dated someone like that, my friend did, people would have thought, oh, that's like cool or something. But now people are like, they would say to you, that's inappropriate, or that they're way more knowledgeable about just things like this and knowing power dynamics and everything like that. Whereas I feel as though there's some older people who wouldn't even, like they wouldn't even know that term or something like that. But I don't get how the roommate as well is like not saying anything to her, or not, are you not worried? Or it's odd. And I feel like they're gonna have Bette and Tina roll in here and be, well, I mean, come on, it's Bette. Like Bette's gonna, well, she has been at the silent retreat for 10 minutes, so maybe she won't blow a gasket. But I've heard that it's Tina that goes wild about this, and I feel like they're gonna portray them as like, oh, you're so, you know, my moms, like my older moms that are coming in here and like not letting me date my professor.
Yeah. Whereas I feel like in the past it would be like a mama bear Bette situation, and then Tina would be like, now Bette, calm down. She's an adult and we can make her own decisions. Yeah. Like we've raised her well, blah, blah, blah. But I don't like that the roommate is like pushing her to have sex. It seems like she would do it with anyone that she was with, but it's like, why are you so invested in your roommate losing her virginity to someone? And like, here, take 25 condoms because you can't ever be too prepared. I'm like,
yeah, I feel like those that's like a young thing too. Like nobody cares about that anymore. But I'm with the what you said about, oh, Tina saying like, oh, Bette, we've raised her well. I feel like that's like the audience that's like, we've raised her better than this. Like she is our lesbian niece, the lesbian's niece, or whatever you want to call it. We've literally had this character since before they were born, so we're conceived. So the audience is like quite attached, I think. And also Jordan Hall's a really good actor, so it seems like such a waste too. Well, I know next week that Shane and Angie have like quite a lot of scenes together, because Shane goes to we saw it in the trailer too, that Shane goes to school. That's what I want. I want to see like Angie and Shane and Angie and Alice. I don't want to see just like random professor virginity discussion.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess you could look at it like, oh, she's, you know, taking control of her own sexuality and stuff. But another thing that lent it to be like they're trying to show that this is not creepy is that Angie was the one who like initiated everything. He wasn't like, he didn't come across as a predator because he wasn't the one pushing her to have sex. She was like, oh, you're nervous about your job. Let me distract you with sex. I mean, not his job, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was but that was like major red flags from the start. Like, oh, I'm all up in my craft and I don't have time to listen to you. Like, get a life, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, nobody, I haven't seen anyone defending that storyline. I haven't seen anyone saying they liked it. Everybody absolutely despises it. So I don't know where they're going with that. Because, you know, we've only got 3 episodes left. And I'm telling you, if there's any creepy professor stuff in episodes 9 and 10, I will riot. I will riot. I've got a long list of things I'm going to be rioting for in episodes 9 and 10. I'm going to be going to LA in like 2 weeks. So watch out. I'm coming with my list of complaints. We've talked about pretty much everybody else except Alice and Tom and the cat And just off the bat, I want to say I fucking loved all the Alice and Tom, Tasha mentioned, the cat. A star, 10 out of 10.
Yay!
Loved it. Well done. Well
Usually
done.
I'm alone in my, Alice and Tom appreciation, or Tom, just Tom appreciation on the show. But
yeah, I did think this was coming. I did think he was only going to be in this episode, because it is a good progression though, because previously there wouldn't have been shit. They never would have mentioned the name Tom again. So having him come back and establish, I'm dating someone else, blah blah blah. This was the other thing that I was like, they're doing it. They're doing it. They are doing it. Because I would always bitch about the Finley backstory thing, and we just want a line. We just want to know what, and that's exactly what I got. So I don't think that that's going to be the end of Tasha, Alice, OG mentions and stuff. So keep your ears and eyes peeled. But
yeah, we finally got around to Tasha after, Alice invites Tom over to be like, oh, I got, a message from beyond, and you're the one who got away. And Tom's like, no, I'm not. I'm dating someone else, and she's having my baby. Alice is like, oh shit.
I love the way that she actually, like, not normal, but somebody else might have been like, oh, I was just thinking about you, Alice, like, told him exactly what went down. Like, she was in a musical. She saw Dana.
But I love it because I love Tom and her together so much. Like, it didn't dissipate with this, even if they're not together romantically.
Yeah.
Their banter is just so good. They're both just genuinely, like, comedic people.
Yeah.
And he's like a normal dude that can, like, joke with her in a way no one else does on the show. And I love it.
Yeah, I loved all their scenes in this episode, and the cat was just added bonus. It was so cute.
And so they're able to have a conversation about Dana, because her message was like, oh, it's someone who sort of knows me, but forgetting, like, oh, but Tom also sort of knows literally everyone you've dated, because he wrote the book on it. So he's able to, like, lead her back around to Tasha. It's like, thank you, Tom, for bringing up Tasha.
I do think the Tasha explanation was weird though, because
she ghosted.
Tasha wouldn't ghost someone.
No. I'm like, as soon as she said that, I'm like, is she dead? Like, was she serving in the military at the time when she ghosted? Like, was she here or overseas? Like, that was weird.
Yeah, that was weird. And also because the way she said, like, oh, it was when I started getting famous for hosting the podcast. I mean, Jess, you and I know what that life is like, that podcast fame. There's 100 people. But she had a podcast in, like, season 3. Like, what are you talking about? She was on KCRW or whatever the hell that thing was called.
Yeah, so that was dumb. But that could also be, like, one person's interpretation of events, where Tasha's interpretation could be like, you literally had no time for me anymore, and all you thought about was, like, getting ahead, and, like, the sort of, like, vapid gossipy stuff that she was really into at the time that, like, Tasha, I think, could not care less about.
That's
and really didn't want to promote,
Oh yeah, because remember at the end of season 5 or it was season 5 when she went to that, like, gay party where they all had to sign NDAs, and she was at Daryl Brewer, and she took the picture. Yeah, they should bring that back around and be like, Alice has built her career on, like, outing people, and because remember she got that job on, like, The View, and it's all, like, so meta, because at the time those episodes came out, and they called it The Look on the show, but it was modeled after The View, and they were having Alice come on as like the token lesbian, because at the time the token lesbian on The View was Rosie O'Donnell. This has been lesbian history with Ash and Jess. See, this is why I could be useful, because no one knows that OG shit like me.
Yeah, and it's weird. You'd think that like a lot more people would be outed today just because of social media, and everyone has their phones everywhere and everything's documented and everything's shared. But I remember like at the time, Perez Hilton had his blog and like would out people, and everyone like like hated him for doing that. And it's like, yeah, you get a ton of attention, but everyone knows like you don't fucking out people. Like you don't out people.
Yeah, that, and he's still hated to this day.
Yeah, and it's like I feel like people still, you know, connect the dots. We're all like taking pictures from everywhere and being like, "Ooh, this person was with this person and they must be together." But you even see people like shut that down on like message boards and stuff like that, like, "Oh, don't say things about people that they haven't said themselves," and yada yada.
Even right now, I could sit here and give you a list, but like I would never ever do, I would never say anything like so and so, blah, blah. And that's goes into like I won't really people ask me stuff all the time about people, even about people's marriages and kids, especially the kids. I'll never talk about anybody's kids. And I think if especially this cast for both shows are very private people, and like I just take the lead from them. Like, you know, Leisha never even used to say Kim's name. I knew that she was dating Kim Dickens for years, and people would ask me and I just said, I don't talk about their private life. And she would say my girlfriend, so that's what I would say. But now she says Kim, so I feel okay saying Kim, but I'd never like go into any, and you know, so maybe it's like the attention and the money, like now you can monetize that stuff with like clicks and views and things, but maybe I'm not seeing it, but I would think that there would even be like, I don't know, some gross YouTube channel or something that's dedicated to bloody, you know, outing people or stuff. But that is a fair point that you made, that I think most people are on the same page of you just don't out people. You don't.
You know what I would love? I know this isn't going to happen because Alice is not even in the next flipping episode. But it's like this sort of Tasha bomb has just been dropped on her. Well, maybe not because she was distracted with the kitten, but
me.
I feel like Tom's like, hey, it's not me. Like, what about Tasha? And I would feel like Alice, some iteration of Alice, would now obsessively have to find out, like, where's Tasha now? What's her deal? Like, let's go track her down. It'd be this, like, cross-country caper of, like, oh, let's go see where she is. Like, she used to be at this address. And it'd be something funny and, you know, a whole escapade trying to track her down. But I think she got really sidetracked with, you know, Mr. Piddles too, or whatever. Yeah. And her life's going to be all about the cat.
If you want to see Alice's cat setup, go to my channel, and I have a couple of behind the scenes videos where I was in Alice's bedroom and bathroom, and she has like her litter tray and stuff in the bathroom. That's where I keep mine. But I will say to that, Jess, there is a certain event transpiring soon, so you never know who might turn up to this event.
Might Alice go stag and wind up with a +1 anyway?
Ugh, anything is possible in the L word.
But yeah, when they rescue the cat finally from the vent system, and Alice is like cuddling the cat and talking to it, I'm such a cat person, so I'm just like, you have to kiss the baby, don't leave the baby hanging, you have to kiss the cat. She finally like kisses the cat on the head, and I'm like, oh yeah,
I love
be a cat person.
Welcome. Oh yeah, I love the little cat. So cute. And I did guess that, I don't know, now are we guessing, or are we giving them future ideas? Because I was like, you need to call the cat Mr. Piddles too.
Right.
So yeah, I'm excited to see what Alice does with the cat. Maybe there'll be like little outfits for the cat, or because I feel like Alice is the sword that will go overboard with the cat.
And see, we got a lot of Alice screen time too. And so, I mean,
Mhm.
maybe this is the answer. Like, you gotta cut out some of the characters every week.
Honestly, I'm not opposed to it. And this is a good question for you, Jess, because you're not like super obsessive about like Twitter and all those things. I've seen a lot of people saying that they think that the show is getting rid of the OGs and is trying to just basically be Gen Q. I have that kind of in two minds about this, because I think if you're gonna lose Bet and Tina and stuff, I think it's a great time for Alice and Shane to step up and to shine and to have more time with them and be able to go deeper with them. But I don't think I would watch if there was no OGs. If it was just Gen Q, I would maybe watch it casually, but I certainly wouldn't be this involved. But maybe that's exactly what they want. They want to get rid of OG fans. Other Jess says you should get rid of the OG so you can cut all the OG fans loose. But I do think that they should have done this from the beginning, because it's stupid to do it now, because you just created two factions, because you have the OG fans like us who watch the show, like the show overall, and then there's people who don't watch it, will never watch it because they only like the OG. And then you have other people who are just Gen Q fans. They've never seen the OG. They have no intention of watching it. And all three of those people kind of fight together, because the Gen Q people are like, oh, I don't want all this time dedicated to the OGs. And then the OGs are like, well, we want more time with Alice. And it just creates this kind of back and forth where nobody's happy, because it creates like, half and half.
Yeah, I don't know that any series would willingly be like, hey, we have this entire captive audience, let's get rid of all of them. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think they would do that. I mean, because they have no way to know of the numbers who's there
Yeah.
for who. And it just doesn't make good business sense to be like, let's let's get rid of all the current viewers we have and start over with other shows try to do that. They come back after a long
Yeah.
hiatus and try to make it completely new, and it's, I don't know, I don't think it will work. It's hard to know if I would mind it or not. I feel like Finley would have to super step up with the comedic stuff to like replace Alice, because she is the primary, character that delivers the laughs in every episode.
Yeah.
And Finley's storyline has been so serious. I just don't see it. I mean, but again, it's like, maybe if you have someone famous like Rosie O'Donnell, like if you had more of those people who are like new to the L word, but famous enough to like carry it, maybe.
I feel as though, that this is the situation that we're going to be in. It is going to be Kate and Leisha, because I know that they are leaving everything wishy-washy, but those decisions have already been made. Like, this is going to be Bet and Tina's like swan song, and I think you'll see more of Kate and more of Leisha for season 4, if there is one, which it sounds like there's going to be. But I don't know, maybe that allows them to introduce, maybe Rose Rollins comes in for season 4, maybe someone else comes in for season 4. I do think now they'll be seeing the numbers drop, and although I cannot physically myself see Showtime streaming numbers, based on every piece of evidence that I have, which is access to a lot of numbers and things through my social media and other people's, there seems to have been a decisive drop in even just interactions on social media. And I don't know how big that drop is. Like, to me, it seems as though everything's down about like 30 to 40%, which is a lot since Gigi left, or Bettina and Gigi left. And it really makes me think that they're, like you said, gonna try and hold on to everything that they have. But I think it's insane that they have not promoted the fact that like Bette and Tina are coming back in episodes 9 and 10, because
no one would know. You wouldn't know.
No.
They're just gone.
They haven't mentioned their names in an episode. They haven't talked about it. No one except fucking me has said they're coming back for 9 and 10. No, like literally nowhere, nothing. And if you're, I've said this on my channel, but like people who are listening to this, people who are watching my videos, people who interact with Showtime online, that's like the top like 20% of fans. Those are people that are really invested, and those numbers are down. But also the casual viewer who like watches this on a Sunday, they're not like looking up when Jennifer Beals is coming back to the show. They've turned on the last few episodes and probably gone, oh, she's gone. So I just don't get it. Why? Like, you should have had a trailer ready to go that would be like the return of Bette and Tina, blah blah blah. It's just, and then ignoring the fact about Gigi too is just even more insanity.
Well, yeah, and losing Bette and Tina is definitely going to hurt the L Word. Like, it's definitely going to hurt the numbers if it comes back for season 4. I mean, it will, but they can capitalize on the audience they do have now, like you said, by really pushing their return in the last couple episodes of the season, and, you know, making people want to tune in for the next season. And I think it could work, like you said, if they keep Kate and Leisha, if they keep Alice and Shane, and then you could bring back other OGs for like, if you brought back Tasha for an entire season, or you brought back Helena for an entire season, it would give people a reason to tune in who were fans of the original show. Even if they were like primarily there for Bette and Tina, there are other characters that people liked. And, you know, I know they've said they wouldn't bring back Carmen, but if you bring back Carmen for an entire season,
desperate times calls for desperate measure.
People are going to tune in to see Sarah Shahi. So
yeah, I mean, that honestly, that's how you deal with Bette and Tina leaving, is you bring in other OG characters, which it's just crazy not to. Like, it's literally crazy. Like, you're literally,
Gen Q cast cannot carry the entire thing, not with the stories they've been given.
No. Yeah, those most of the people had a really good experience on the L Word and would come back in a heartbeat. So it's even more insane not to do it. If you need, you know, people that know the OG like the back of their hand, you know, I'll always be here to help.
Yes. Yeah, but speaking of Gen Q stories, and something else we've been asking for since season 1, Finley. We finally get a little glimpse of Finley's mom calls at the end of the episode, and Finley ignores the telephone call. And then if you watch the scenes for next week, you see Finley's mom show up. And we've been asking for more of Finley's story and her family since they were introduced. And it's obviously a major part of what makes Finley who she is, and her issues have to do with her family. So yeah, give us that story.
Yeah, do you know what's funny is that I said this, I think it was on my trailer breakdown. So last season, Showtime said to me, oh, will you do this partnership with us for National Coming Out Day? And I, of course, said yes. And they're like, okay, on National Coming Out Day, like, we want you to tell your coming out story, and it's going to go in a group of videos with 4 videos, including yours. And the other 3 videos were going to be Micah, Gigi, and Finley. And it was going to be the characters telling like their coming out story. And so this was all filmed. Like, they asked me to do this at the beginning of season 2. It was all filmed, it's all ready, all packaged, ready to go. I did mine, and then on National Coming Out Day they released mine, but they just released this like compilation video that had like clips from the season that we'd all seen a million times, and nothing like unique, nothing about Finley, Gigi, or Micah, and they just decided not to release them. So I'm like, did they do that because they were like, oh, we don't want to put that out there as like concrete storyline of something that happened? or like, is it the same stuff that's in that video that's going to be included in this storyline? Or, you know, it was a really odd thing, but I'm super interested to see. And Mary McCormick is playing her mom, so I don't know, maybe something's happened to her dad or something, because she seemed to still be speaking to her dad. That's in season 1. Remember, she calls the house and he's like, oh, your sister's shower or wedding or something, your sister's getting married, and she didn't even know. So it seemed like it's the mom that she doesn't speak with.
Yeah. I really like Mary McCormick, by the way.
But it looks like Sophie's family's there too in the trailer.
Oh.
I guess we're ignoring Dani's dad still.
I guess. Jeez. For something that was such a giant storyline.
I know.
And such a big presence, like, in Dani as a character, period.
And for 2 seasons in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything. Thoughts overall out of 10?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I feel like I almost need to watch this again, since I was kind of distracted while I was watching it. But I mean, yeah, overall I enjoyed it. There wasn't much I wanted to fast forward through, except the Angie stuff is all cringy.
Yeah.
And just there's something about just the age of those characters. And like, I watch teen shows. Maybe it's that these are like, they're actually written like for their age, that I'm like, I can't even like look at, like, I can't even watch you. It's so like cringy.
I'm rewatching Yellow Jackets at the moment, and there's a scene where it's like the 2 younger characters are like hooking up, and I was like fast forwarding through it because I was like, I don't think I should be watching this. Like, it just, I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm gonna cover Yellow Jackets. I covered Yellow Jackets last year, but it just this, and I know that they're like over 18 or whatever, but they just seem so young that I'm like, I
just
don't
hearing
know.
them talk about sex and stuff, it's like, I don't want to hear this conversation.
Making me uncomfortable.
I don't know. Maybe there's some, there's college age students watching the show, and
Yeah.
I guess I'd like to know how they feel about those characters, whether they feel any connection to them at all, or whether it's just like they feel younger than college. They feel like, I don't know.
Next week, yeah, we're gonna get Thanksgiving randomly and some Finley backstory, and then at the end of the episode we're gonna get the trailer for episode 9. So we're gonna see. And I can't believe there's only 3 episodes left and only 2 weeks, well, just over 2 weeks till I go to LA for the watch party. Woo woo. So yeah, that was the episode, and we'd love if you could follow us on Instagram. I'll put Jess and I's down below, as well as the Drinks at Dana's one. And if you want to check out Jess and Chris's website, it's the L Word Online. The link is in the show notes too. We also would be super appreciative if you could leave us a comment or leave us a review if you listen on Apple or Spotify or any other podcasting services. And we'll be back next week, of course, to discuss episode 308, Quality Family Time. We hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.